Hello and welcome to this short video on how to use 247 time in respect of Barchester Healthcare. This is aimed primarily at recruitment agencies. We're going to show you an overview of 247 time so you see how to log in and change your password, how to add information about your candidates, finding jobs, looking at adding information into timesheets, look at your weekly trading and common things that we see with problems and how we cure them as well. But as you can see here with this virtual circle, typically what happens is a home will come and require a worker from you. And as an agency, what we ask you then to do is to add that worker into 247 time, assign them then to a job role for that particular home. Then the candidate typically goes and works at a home. Then once a week, we'll ask you to go in and just put the hours that a candidate has actually worked along with some additional information. And then we draw a line in the sand in terms of that week, in terms of consolidation, and then we start over. So that's the weekly process. So let's just show you how we actually do that. But before we do that, just a couple of things that I think may be of interest to you. We have a support website that is available for all agencies. As you can see there, it's at 247timesupport.co.uk. And what we have there is a number of videos, and you may well be looking at this video from the support website indeed. But basically, it contains information about a process guide, which contains a lot more information about Barchester and things that we can't cover off in this particular webinar. And it's ideal for new staff and refreshers, but equally, it will contain documents, and some short snippets on videos as well. So you don't have to watch this video all in one go. We've got some short snippets there as well that you can actually go in and have a look at too. So that's available for you on demand. Equally, information governance is something that's really important for us as an IT company, and it's something that we are very strict about. First and foremost is that your usernames and passwords are unique to you and they shouldn't be shared. And we do leap on users where we do find that password sharing is taking place. And where required, you are obliged to upload certain documents as well. And you'll see as we go through this webinar demonstration is that you can download information from 247 time, and where you do that, it's important that you do keep that information confidential as well. We as a business comply with the Data Protection Act, and it's something that we adhere to very, very strictly. Not only that, but equally in terms of the NHS information governance program, which is an even tighter and more stricter routine. And just to give you some reassurance as well that about 247 time is we don't share information with anybody else. 247 time is a means of you conveying information between you as an agency and the client, and vice versa. Okay. So this is how you log in, and you log in by our URL, which is time2.247time.co.uk, and you can log in on any device that's connected to the internet. We have people logging in on smartphones, iPads, Android phones, Android tablets, Apple Macs, as well as the traditional PCs and laptops. So any device where you've got a stable internet connection, you can connect through to 247 time. And again, you can use any browser. We use Google Chrome, but if you are using any particular browser, just keep up with the latest versions of it. We've just seen recently that Microsoft are now stopping support for older versions of browsers. So it is important that you do keep your browser up to date as well. If you do need to get hold of us for any reason, we're available either through telephone number or the support email. Now, what we ask you to do is to email support first if you have any query, and that email address there is support@247time.co.uk. And the reason for that is that we operate a ticket-based support structure. So basically, when you email us in about your particular query, whatever it is, you'll get back a ticket number that says, here is your ticket number, and it's attached specifically to your query. And the reason for operating a ticket-based system is it saves you time and it saves us time. we can triage what are the most important things that we need to deal with. And equally, if it's something that we've resolved a million times before, we may have a quick fix that we can send you that says, here it is, this is what you need to do. So it's better for you to do that as well. But if you do need to get hold of us, it's a local rate number, as you can see. It's 0333 1014 247. Now, we've designed 247 time to be very clean and clinical, and it's predominantly a point and click system. So you can see here, username and password. These are provided to you after training by our support team, and you can see this forgotten username and forgotten passwords. Well, they do exactly as they say on the tin. But you can see here the login button. So anything in blue is where you click to either enter information or click to retrieve it. So by clicking in on login, that should then bring through to the dashboard. Now, the dashboard is our means of conveying information that we think is important for you to see. We may equally send it to you direct by email, but if we think it's something that you need to see, then we'll place it here as well, just for belt and braces purposes. You can click on any of the messages by just clicking on the blue column, and some older messages by just clicking on the history. You can see here this top black navigation bar. And you think of these as drawers in a filing cabinet. This is where you go to look at certain information, or click to retrieve it, or click to enter it. But the first thing we'll typically ask you to do is, when you log in for the first time, is go in and change your password to something that's more memorable to you. And by clicking on the settings on the right hand side, it brings you through to the password change screen. Enter the password we've given you along with the one that you want to use a couple of times. Click on modify, and that's it. Then that becomes your password from there on in. So that's logging in and changing your password. Let's go in and have a look at candidates, and the way you do that is click on the candidate icon here on the top navigation bar. What I've done here is I've actually taken two screenshots and combined them into one, just to really save a little bit of space and time. Typically what you'll see is just the empty box here and search. So if you've got Fred Blogs, you can type in Fred Blogs, and up will come Fred Blogs in your candidate screen, as you can see at the bottom. Equally, you can type in Fred, and up will come all your Freds. Click on Blogs, and up will come all your blogs. If you leave it blank and then just click on search, you get screen B. Now, screen B will be all your candidates in whatever order that you've assigned them to. And you can think of this blue navigation bar here as, think of that as an Excel spreadsheet that you can sort any column into any particular order. It's exactly the same here within 247 time. So you can sort them out by alphabetical here, by full name, or by date of birth, or number of jobs, whatever particular criteria is important for you. And you can see here that the NI number is what you click on to look at a candidate's profile. So if their address changes or the telephone number, you can go in here and amend that information accordingly. Remember earlier I said about downloading information. You'll see this box in a number of the screens within 247 time. So what you can basically do is that click on that, and it will download to whatever device you're on a CSV file that you can use in any third-party application or manipulate as you wish. And it is dynamic, so it will change depending on what it is you're actually looking at. And in this particular case, it will show the candidate information. But we're going to register a new candidate now. So you click on the bottom right here, register candidate, and it comes up with a candidate information page. And looking at this, then just going from top to bottom, obviously the NI number, in common with a lot of HR systems. That's the one thing you can't change within 247 time, because NI numbers don't change. So therefore you can't change it for any particular candidate. You'll see your agency name appear here, and then you just enter the details for the candidate as you would do with any HR system. Now, you do need to upload some documentation, and you can see here is what the documentation is required, and you can get copies and blanks of these forms from the support website where appropriate. But you'll upload them, these forms, completed forms, into various boxes here, as you would do any particular form on the internet that you can save onto your particular device, and then click save, and that becomes then your candidate profile. So let's go and have a look at jobs next. Three things that we need in terms of actually looking at jobs is, first of all, what tier you're on. And most agencies will be on tier 1, but there are some agencies that are on tier 2. We need to know whether the job is going to be a day job or a night job, and obviously the home name, as you can see here. And typically you'll get an example here that looks like a particular booking. So we're going to use that information in order then to go in and have a look at the system. So you click on jobs, and I can see here we've put HCA tier 1 days, and I've typed in there Adlington Care Home, and what's come up here is the details about the job. So we can see it's Barchester, and we can see that it's Adlington Manor. So yes, that's the home where I want to assign this candidate. And remember what I said earlier on, that anything in blue is where you enter to go forward. So we're going to click on HCA 1 days on the title there, and that brings you through to the assigning the candidate page. So you'll have a list here of people then that are already assigned to a role. Now 247 time is not a booking system, it's just basically where you're assigning your candidates to a particular role. So we've got nobody already working in that particular role at that particular home. There's the export to Excel again, and we're going to assign a new candidate to this role. So click on that, and that brings you up a list of all your candidates. So you can type in Fred Blogs, click on search, and up will come Fred Blogs here. Or you can scroll through your candidates by just clicking on the various pages here till you find them, and then just hit select. So when you select one, the final screen on adding a candidate to a role, then it'll confirm your agency name. You select the branch that you're supplying from, so whether you're a one branch operation or part of a multiple chain, select the branch that you're supplying your candidate from. It confirms what the day rate is, or the night rate in terms of the job. It confirms the NI number of the candidate's name. NI will be 0. And just a couple of moments then about the start and end dates. The start date, you can only have somebody starting in the current week that you're currently in. So our working week is Monday through to Sunday. So if, for example, today is a Wednesday, you can only have them starting on the Monday of the current week. You can have them starting today, the Wednesday. You can have them starting Thursday, Friday, next week or next month. But you can't have them starting any earlier than the Monday of the week that you're currently in. And the reason for that is we've already consolidated and taken care of that data previously. So where you've got a case where somebody's already been working at a home and you've just got round to thinking, well, crikey, they're not on the system, I'd better do something about it. I'll show you with how we deal with that in a second. But basically you start them in the week that they're currently in. And again, it's useful really to just get used to doing that, to assign them to the role when they're actually starting. The end date's not so important, but if, for example, a home says to you, well, I want your candidate this week, and I may want them the week after that, and I'm not sure, but I may want them for a couple of days the week after that. If you're not really confident that the end date is going to be the end date, then leave it blank, and that candidate will remain on that timesheet until one of two things actually happen. That either you go on and terminate them off the role yourself, or nothing happens to that candidate for 6 weeks, in which case the system's intelligent enough to think, well, clearly that candidate's not working there anymore, and I'll go and terminate them off the roll automatically. And that just tidies up the timesheet. And then all you do is click on Save and Close, and that's it. So it's very, very easy to do. And I think once you've done it a couple of times, you'll find it very, very intuitive to do so. So then what happens is, as a result of doing that, is that candidate then remains on that timesheet then, ready for you to add hours. So let's go in and have a look at that. So before I do that, by the way, one thing is, if you're looking at it and you can't find a job, don't worry. If you get a situation where you're looking through and there's no role there, even though you've got it there in writing or a telephone call from the home, just email us at support. We'll check it out, and if it's not there, we'll put the job on as well. Okay. Now, so let's go in and have a look at the timesheet then. So, for example, in this particular case, we've got a nurse that's working on a Monday shift, and day rates are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And we've got this nurse here that's clocked in at 9 and finished at 5, less an hour break. So that's 7 hours that candidate's worked on that particular day. So you just go in and add 7 hours in to the Monday box. And again, for all the hours then that candidate works for each day on a particular week. But I just want to show you now a more complicated example. We've got this nurse here that's coming in on a busy Friday night shift. So nights are from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. And what this nurse is doing is she's come in at 7 p.m. So she's come in an hour earlier and she's worked half an hour later on the night shift. So she's worked basically an extra hour and a half, but that's a day rate. And then she's worked 11 hours on the Friday night shift as well. So we basically need to incorporate a couple of things there. We need to incorporate the hour and a half on the day rate and 11 hours on the night rate. So when you click on timesheets, as you can see here, click on Barchester and then add in the name of the home, click on search, and it'll then come up with the name of the home. And you can see here in this, for example, this nurse here, John Test, has worked 7 hours then on the Monday. So we've just put 7 hours then on the Monday, and you can click save. So for that nurse then that worked both day rates and night rates, you can see here, John Test file, we've put an hour and a half in the day box for the day rate that they worked, and equally then we put 11 hours in on the night rate. So you can see the jobs here that gives you the day and nights. So that's all you need to do in terms of the timesheet for that. Then what you need to do is, if the home's allowing you bonuses and expenses in terms of mileage allowance or whatever, then you can put those details in here. Anything that happens to your particular candidate, let's say for example their home knows that person worked 3 hours extra on that particular day and you don't know anything about that, then the home could go in and up the hours that particular candidate has worked, and equally they can down the rate. So they're the ultimate backstop in making sure that the information is correct. So we tell the approvers that any queries or any issues that they have with any particular candidate over any particular week period is just put some information to the notes, so you're able to then go in and have a look at that yourself and see what any particular actually issue is. But we do ask you to upload a copy of the timesheet. Now the timesheet could be your timesheet, it may be the home's timesheet, it may be Barchester's timesheet, but basically what we're looking for is some key pieces of information. So we need to know the candidate, what the candidate's worked, the candidate signed it, and somebody from the home has signed it as well. So where there's any query, they can click on that and have a look at that as a particular piece of evidence. And again, where somebody's split hours, just upload copies of the timesheets to the day and the night job as well. Click on save. So when you've got somebody working in a home for say 10 weeks, then the very first thing you'll do is go in, add the candidate into the system, assign them to the job, and then the first Monday after they've worked is go in and add the hours to the timesheet. And then from there on in, all you need to do is go in on a Monday and go in and add the hours to the particular timesheet on a week-by-week basis. Okay. So let's just give you an idea of what the timetable actually is. So you can see the home's requested your worker. When the booking's been confirmed, you go in and assign your candidate onto the appropriate job role, and the nurse then goes and works, or the candidate goes and works at home, then Monday through to Sunday. So that's the actual working week. Week 3 is where the activity takes place, and there's some important timetable things here. I've mentioned previously about the Monday, that to go in and put the hours in. Your actual deadline for doing this is by Tuesday at 11. Now we do encourage you to get used to doing it on a Monday, and again educating your candidates to send you information about the timesheets and the hours worked on a Monday as well, on the basis then that if things trip over or delayed for one reason or another, you've still got till Tuesday at 11 to get the hours actually in. But that's your ultimate deadline, is you must get that previous week's activity in there by Tuesday at 11, because after that is when the home approvers will go in and look at the timesheets and say, yes, I'm happy with those candidate hours, I will go in and approve them. And they have to do that then by Tuesday at 5, because there is an automatic process that happens after close of play on a Tuesday, where the system electronically closes that week down and does what we call a consolidation, and then sends that information electronically to Barchester for processing. So it's really important that Tuesday 11 is the deadline for agencies, and Tuesday at 5 is the deadline for approvers. So what happens then if you've got a candidate working at a home for a couple of weeks and you suddenly think, oh my goodness me, I'm not being paid, so what can I do about it? So clearly we need to have a mechanism of catching up. You can either download a historical form from the dashboard in which to complete, or send us information in an email to support that says I need a historical timesheet for my particular candidate. And what we need to know then is the candidate name, the home that they're working for, and the week ending dates that you want historical timesheets created. And what we'll then do is we'll create a line in pink on the timesheet, and all you do then is go into the system and select the week that you want to add in. So if you've got a couple of weeks, you'll select each of the Sunday week ending dates, and you'll come in to the line as you would do any other week and add the information in. So basically the hours that they've worked, upload a copy of the timesheet, and then click save. And that what happens then as a result of doing that is the system will sweep up not only the current weeks that you're actually in, but will then sweep up any other historical timesheets as well. So the next payment run, you'll catch up then on any monies that are actually outstanding. So that's how we deal with historical timesheets. So next thing to do is let's have a look at invoicing then. So this is the invoicing tab on the end of the top navigation bar here. So every week you'll have a line for Barchester that will contain 2 pieces of information. Okay, the first thing it'll do is it'll show you invoicing. So when you click on invoicing, it shows downloads a PDF, which is a PDF invoice that will show a net, a VAT amount and a gross amount. Now 247 time is a self-billing system, so you don't need to send an invoice to Barchester anymore. You still need to do something for your own internal account system, but in terms of actually folding up that invoice, sticking it in an envelope, putting a stamp on it and posting it to Barchester, this system does that for you on your behalf. And this amount here could be for tens of thousands of pounds. So understandably, you're going to want to know how that amount is actually broken down. So when you click on data file here at the end, it downloads to your device a CSV file that contains enough information for you to shake a stick at. It'll contain client's name, NI number, hours worked, the pay rate per hour, what the client or the candidate has earned. It'll show your margin. It'll show who approved it. You can turn this information upside down, inside out. It's available for you on demand after consolidation. So typically that would be there for you on a Wednesday morning. And the great thing about 247 time, as we're an open and transparent system, this information is available for you on demand as and when you require it. So if for now, 6 months from now, you have a query on the system, you can go back and have a look at this week, and the information you'll see will be exactly the same as what we can see, will be exactly the same as what Barchester will see as well. But what we recommend is good practice is for you to go in on a Wednesday after the consolidation and just double check that everything's tickety-boo in terms of what you're expecting, so that, as we all know, it's easier to do things when they're fresh in your mind rather than it being 6 months later on from that. So that's the data file. Okay, just want to show you some things here really that we find with common issues. 3 reasons mainly why things have a hiccup is that the candidate documentation is incomplete. So it's important that where you upload the required documentation that you do so in order for that payment process to follow through. Equally, make sure that you do assign your candidate to the job and at the right home as well, because that can affect the payment schedules as well. It's if you allocate somebody to the wrong home, they'll appear on somebody else's timesheet and therefore they'll ignore it, and the person that should be approving the timesheet won't see your candidate on their particular timesheet. So do take care when you're assigning a candidate that you're actually assigning them to the right home as well. And last but not least, obviously, is make sure that the timesheet is completed in full in terms of the information required, hours worked, and that you do actually save it as well. So if you, having done all that, you still have an issue, this is what you need to do then. First and foremost is we recommend you go into the support website and click on industrial clients, click on B for Barchester, and up will come the page relevant to Barchester. And just to have a look at the process guide and just make sure that you're comfortable that you've followed the outline of the process that we've given you there, that you do actually follow it. Then go in to the system and follow your candidate all the way through its journey in terms of adding the candidate profile into the system, the assigning him to the right job, and then the timesheet is completed correctly. And if after that you're still thinking, well, everything's all fine and I can't see what the actual issue is, just email us to support and just tell us what you think is the issue, that my candidate have not been paid, and I can't see any reason why I shouldn't be paid. What we'll then do is we'll intervene and have a look at it and see what we can establish. And that's really it. And just to summarise, so really make sure then that you get your candidates on as early as you can into the system. So good practice here is when you've been given confirmation that Barchester at a particular home want your candidate, is go in, add them into the system, and then assign them to the appropriate job role as well in the week that you've been given that job role, because that's important. Your deadlines then after they've worked that week, that working week, is to make sure that by Tuesday at 11 that all the hours are actually in, because the approvers will then go in between 12 and 5, because at 5 is when we do the consolidation and then go in and have a look. And just a final thing there, support is available to you at 247time. So you can see here the email support at 247time.co.uk, and our URL is time2.247time.co.uk. The support website is 247timesupport.co.uk, and last but not least, our telephone number, it's a local rate number, it's 0333 1014 247. And thanks very much for your time.